Taiwan Coast Guard has detained a China-linked cargo ship, the Hong Tai 58, after an undersea cable near the Penghu Islands was disconnected. The incident occurring in the Taiwan Strait has raised alarms as tensions over Chinese grey zone activities continue to escalate. The ship, registered in Togo but crewed by Chinese nationals, was stationed near the cable at the time of the disruption. Taipei is treating this as a national security issue, especially since there have been similar incidents recently. While communications were quickly restored through other cables, the growing frequency of such a disturbance has Taiwan on high alert. We are joined by Andrew K.P. Lung, international and independent China strategist located in Hong Kong. And we're also joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao for this discussion. Andrew K.P. Lung, I wanted to come to you first, if that's all right. I was wondering, on what specific legal grounds was Taiwan able to obtain this Chinese vessel in international waters?
Well, first of all, I've got no information on whether to what extent and whether these cables have been cut. But of course, the reports of past cuts are correct. Then it is a part of a momentum of, if you like, coercion against or warning against the separatist movement. But behind it all is the often misunderstood Beijing strategy towards Taiwan. I mean, most of the Western media seems to think that Beijing will take advantage of the chaos at the moment over Ukraine and other areas to seize the opportunity to retake Taiwan. But that's not the preferred strategy of Beijing. The best strategy, of course, is unification, peaceful unification. But how is this going to happen? On two fronts. First of all, is the momentum of warnings in terms of military exercises and encirclement, perhaps even the current incidents of cutting cables, if that can be proven. But be it all, there is a definite pressure, military pressure and diplomatic pressure by isolating Taiwan diplomatically to force Taiwan to the negotiation table rather than just taking over Taiwan. Now, because the dynamics are such that the people on both sides are increasingly interacting with one another. At the height of the interaction, as many as 1 million Taiwanese, now the numbers have decreased quite significantly, but at least about 300 to 400,000 Taiwanese and their families have been living on the mainland and working on their businesses. And of course, there are many more tourists visiting both sides and many more exchanges between universities. And also, Taiwanese young people, they are going to mainland China, quite a significant number, establishing their businesses, running new restaurants and upper class restaurants, and also Taiwan directors, film directors and actresses are featuring Chinese films. So I think that the interaction pace is moving towards a momentum of understanding that the difference between the two sides, of course, this political situation is very different, but it's not such as to cause be all and end all battle, taking up arms to risk their own lives. I think that this building up a momentum towards a negotiation of a formula more favorable, perhaps, compared to those with Hong Kong or Macau for the peaceful unification in the not too distant future.
Yes. I want Dr. Nagao. We have had allegations of these undersea cables being tampered with consistently over the past few months. What's the strategic significance of tampering with these undersea cables, and how does it affect Taiwan's national security and communication structure?
Most importantly, cutting the cable affects people's mindset. because Taiwan has, for international purpose, they have the 14 cable, 14 cable, and for the domestic purpose, 10 cable. So in total, 24. So if China catch one by one, so people cannot communicate with the people in the other country, and government communication is also limited. For example, only the satellite communication is available, and other communication cannot connect with other country. This means that if they need to ask help, of course, government communication system is very limited. China can destroy all of it. So that's why this communication is very important related with the public opinion in Taiwan, which can ask the other country to help. So to persuade forcefully, this is useful for China. And but at the same time, indeed, this method is relatively easy to do because this time the Chinese ship tried to cut, but through as an accident, not a military operation. So that's why China can cut one by one as an accident. And so as a military operation, as a strategic operation to persuade Taiwanese people forcefully, one by one they can do that. That is a big problem. But once the Taiwanese law enforcement officials arrest these ships, this is a legal matter. China can get the legitimate reason to increase pressure. That is another fact, another aspect of this incident. So China will increase the pressure toward Taiwan by exploiting this incident. So that is another aspect, the very important aspect. Step up, escalate the situation. So view from Japan, view from the US, try to Taiwan, we support Taiwan very strongly. So when China tries to escalate the situation, of course, we must support Taiwan more strongly. That is needed. Thank you.
Yes, Andrew KP Lung, how is this situation looking in the broader Indo-Pacific, and how are international stakeholders such as neighbouring countries and telecommunications companies responding to a situation like this and Taiwan's decision to obtain this vessel?
Well, first of all, I don't think that any neighboring countries would risk the farm, as it were, to save Taiwan, putting all in. Of course, they would put in a number of measures to contain or prevent Beijing from taking military action. Because as I said, I mean, the military option is not the best option for Beijing. But be that as it may, the biggest supporter to buttress Taiwan's defense, of course, is not Japan or South Korea, it's the United States in the past. But when I said in the past, it's because Trump, before his inauguration, appeared on television holding a ballpoint pen, pointing the top of the ballpoint pen to refer to Taiwan, and a big a sphere at the back to refer to China. And then, of course, after his inaugural, and when he became the new president of the United States, he also lumped 100% tariffs on Taiwan semiconductor industry and asked Taiwan to pay up for its own defense. So I think that Trump is probably playing it both ways. But I think that the distance between Taiwan and the United States is such that, of course, the Americans sees that any strong defense of Taiwan risk a lot of the American assets. But that's not to say that they're not going to defend Taiwan. They're going to use Taiwan to play the Taiwan card. But I think that the underlying dynamic is that President Trump doesn't want to have a war, particularly a war with another nuclear power. Look at what's happening over Ukraine. The United States, even during the Biden administration, never dare to direct confrontation with Russia. The same applies to China. But then on the other hand, the reason why they are winding down the war on Ukraine, no doubt that's mean that they would concentrate their efforts again to compete, to confront China in the Asia Pacific. But that doesn't necessarily lead to war.
Andrew,
Hopefully.
KP Leung and Dr. Nagao, thank you very much for joining us.